What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Building Endor in LEGO. We are at week number 5, and I'm so excited to finally be getting onto something other than the lake. We spent the past 3 weeks working on the lake, and parts have not come in yet, but I told you last week that's not going to impede us. We're going to be starting to move on to other parts of the project, and I think this is going to be the best episode yet. It's only 5 episodes, but still, super exciting. Today we're going to be talking about the Endor Ewok Village on the lake, right? There's 2 villages, in the trees and in the lake. The one in the lake is what I'm focusing on in my mock, and that's what we're going to be getting into today, talking about the formation of that, the early prototyping and designing, all that super fun stuff. But before we go ahead and continue, of course, huge thank you to our Building Endor in LEGO series sponsor, Firestar Toys. They've generously sponsored this series. They've given me a whole bunch of custom printed arms for stormtroopers, death troopers, shock troopers, officers, pilots, even Inferno Squad. So thank you to Firestar Toys for sponsoring today's video. If you guys want to go ahead and check out any of their products, use the coupon code BrickWiz15. Use the links down below. Go check out some of the awesome stuff that they have to offer. Now, we didn't live stream this week. I was super busy just working in general, and this week was a lot of designing and prototyping from my own mind. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, so I didn't want to live stream and just be boring and just sort of sit there in silence. So no live stream. However, this coming week we will definitely have one, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But like I said, we're moving on to the Ewok Village on the lake. So this week I started off by planning out the platforms, getting a general size for how everything is going to follow through, and the most importantly, we did start to get some pretty cool designs, and I think what is a final design for the Ewok tents that are going to be going on the lake itself. It's a really complicated and intriguing building design, especially when you're trying to translate that into LEGO. So I'm super excited to show you guys the progress for this week. If you guys haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe down below. Drop a like if you guys are excited for today's video, and let's go ahead and get started. So I got a lot of stuff here. It's a mess, and yeah, we have a lot of stuff to go over. But before I wanted to start designing the actual cone shape for the like the hut that are going to be on the lake, I wanted to start off by doing 2 things. Number 1, forming the bridge, and number 2, making the actual platforms itself. Now, I don't have all the plates and tiles for the platforms, but first let's talk about this bridge. I'll put a reference image on your screen right now. This is pretty much what I'm going for. The only inaccuracy is it looks like dark tan, at least in the images, but I think in terms of a good color that'll contrast the lake and the rest of the scenery, I think reddish brown is going to be the way to go. So you can see here I've actually inserted the tile and the plates, so there are these like little gaps in between just to make it look a little bit more realistic and like actual wood planks. I've actually been utilizing these bracket pieces right here, and basically all you have to do is stack a plate or 2 on top of each other, and then it creates that gap that looks super realistic, especially for like a wooden made bridge, you know, that the Ewoks have. I've also on the side, I've utilized these clip pieces, and then I also have these little bar pieces like the wand parts, and then with that I'm actually able to make the little studs or like the stilts that would go up on the lake. So you can see here, you can't see any of the gray underbelly when you're looking at it, and then we also have those little bars which like are to simulate the stilts that are supporting the actual bridge on top of the lake, which is actually pretty cool, and I think this is turning out pretty nicely, I do have to say. Now this is the bridge that's going to go in between both the platforms. I still have to do the bridge that's going to connect the platforms to the actual mainland, but of course that's going to come like at the very last and end of this video, or maybe even next week. But the bridge out of the way, I've decided to do 2 platforms here. We have like one sort of rectangular platform and the other one's sort of an L shape. That's just to give it a little bit of a nicer contrast with the mock and give it some more shape and not so much of a like a bland color, if that makes sense. So the idea is we're gonna have one platform ideally right over here, the other one's gonna be somewhat over here, and then we're gonna have them connecting with the bridge in the middle here, and then a bridge is gonna connect this one probably to the land, and then that one we're gonna push that maybe a little bit actually forward, so maybe like about here I want to say. And then what we'll do is we'll push the bridge here to connect to the mainland or something like that. But again, so the idea is that this bridge is going to be going somewhere here, connecting both of the platforms. And again, I'm going to use that same technique I've used for the bridges and the stilts all around the sides of this. So it's going to look like this is being held up by the stilts, which is super important. So far, come together pretty good. What I'm going to do next is probably maybe try to do stilts around the platform. And then we're going to be working on prototyping and starting those tents, which is going to be probably the hardest thing about this specific aspect of the project, but I'll keep you guys posted. Alrighty, so I'm not a technical Lego builder. Like, all my mocks are pretty straightforward. There's nothing been crazy intricate, but this was like the biggest thing. This is the most, by far, intricate thing that I've tried to come up with, at least as far as techniques go. So here again is the image of that hut, whatever you want to call it, tent. Essentially, it's a cone shape, and there are pieces in Lego that you can use to create that shape, but none of them look good or look natural. So I figured the best way to go about this was using wedge plates. So the wedge plates I decided to use, at least for the top portion here. I think these are 3x12, I want to say. Obviously the tan plate just connecting it for sake of right now. So these are the wedges I decided to use for the very top portion of it. I think if I was able to get these in a circle, it would look really good whenever I actually finish the design. Because the wedges, if you put them together, if this makes sense, you can actually put them in a circle. So if you connect them like this, it closes that gap right in the middle, and you're able to actually connect it, which I thought if I was able to recreate that shape going forward, sort of like this, I figured that would look the best. So I now had to figure out how was I going to connect these, pieces, these wedge sections together, not only like this, but more on a curve like this. So there was a few options that we could use. The first option, this was the part that I actually already had on hand. These are 2x4 Technic little, I don't know what they're called, hinge plates, I think. But I soon realized that they weren't gonna connect at all. So the only way I could connect them was maybe, leveling it up a plate, but I couldn't get that angle. And even if I got these to be perfectly connected, it would only be a 90-degree angle because these wedge corners would sort of hit each other and couldn't really go farther. So this was something that I tried for a few hours and it just did not work. And then, so we had the 2x2 connector right here in gray, and then we also had the 2x2 black ball joint, which is on a plate. So I was like, okay, let's try this one. So I'll take off the old Technique and we'll put on the new one. So immediately I saw this actually working a lot better. I was able to get a little bit more maneuverability and a little more customization out of this guy. So this was already looking up to be a pretty decent design. That was until I realized that they weren't long enough. I couldn't connect the ball joint and the connector piece together because the wedges were literally stopping it from going together. So then I tried to actually move the joint over a little bit and see if that would work. So I went ahead, I moved it over like this, and then I said, okay, boom, they connect. Perfect, it's working. Only thing is, that's a pretty large gap. That is actually a really large gap, and it's also, as you just saw by it falling apart, it's not sturdy at all. It just basically doesn't hold together well at all in any capacity. It's too flimsy. I had to find something that was like a mix between this current one with the ball joint and then also with the black hinge pieces, something that would work a lot better, be more sturdy, and offer me a little bit more customization in terms of shaping of the actual wedge plate. And then it dawned on me, I'll actually move the camera a little bit here, I actually saw the Stranger Things set and I said, hey, there are some ball joints on that guy, maybe I can use those. So I went ahead, I took like 2 or 3 off, and I decided to give it a shot, and it actually ended up working fairly well. And so the end product, the one that I'm actually using, is this guy right here. Now it's a little bit of a more intricate connection than the previous two. So basically the Stranger Things set has these ball joints right here in dark bluish gray, but they're 3 prongs. So there's a 1 ball joint there, and then 1 right there. That wasn't working because it wasn't offering enough room. However, it did work for the bottom, for the base. So these ball joints right here, the dark bluish gray 3-pronged ones, these are from the Stranger Things set, and these actually worked well for the larger base of what I was creating. So this was able to fit in really nicely. You guys can see here, if I use basically a 4x6 canvas, I used 2x4 wedges and then 4x4 plate, I was able to formulate a pretty solid circle. I mean, it's obviously going to be lines and stuff, that's kind of to be expected in Lego, and there's some gaps, but as far as the general shape goes, this was a great foundation and a base for the lower parts of the actual tent. So now what I had to do was figure out a way of how I was going to create that top part using the wedges. Again, these techniques weren't working, they were too flimsy, weren't enough customization available, and then we came on to this. This was a technique that uses 1x2 ball joints and 1x2 connectors, and you can see here if I place them on the plates precisely in the middle, I think it's like 4 studs from the top, you're able to form a pretty solid circle, which does end up looking really, really nice. And these might actually be able to clip on and maybe act as a support beam and cover the external. Now, this color will be in brown. All these colors will be in reddish brown except the little clips right here because that's just too expensive. So I then found a way to actually connect the hose and use it as a piece to not only support the top of the tent, but also to support the bottom. So I was able to put some clips on the bottom part, and if you actually connect it as such, basically you're able to use the hoses as not only a foundation on the bottom, but also a piece to connect the top as well. once you do it right, and once I get more parts in, you're actually able to use the little hose pieces that I said before and use them as a foundation. So they're connected on the bottom. Well, not actually connected, they're just sort of resting on the bottom, and it allows you to actually hold up the top part of the tent. Now, this was the best and most accurate that I could come up with. It might look super flimsy right now. I actually ran out of parts to connect the top portion of it. So that's why I don't have like a full 360 version to show you guys as like a final prototype, just because I don't have those parts available. But this was the best that I can come up with, and I think it's going to look really cool once it's done. Like I said, especially once the rest of the colors are corrected, are changed, I think it's going to look super cool. So that, as far as technique and technical wise goes, this is what I was able to come up with. I'm really happy with it, and once I do have a 360 version built, it's going to be a lot more sturdy. You'll be able to get a better sense of it. So hopefully you can sort of get an idea of it, what it looks like now. But again, going forward, hopefully next week, I'll be able to create the actual final versions of these guys to show you. But let's take a little bit of an overhead view of how everything's looking so far. Alrighty, now putting both of those together, I mean, this is looking... I'm pretty excited for this. This is looking really good. So like I said, we have both of those platforms here. We got the bridge to connect between them, which is nice. We also did round off the edges of the platforms with the stilts. Again, the edges and the platforms are going to be more refined. I'm waiting on more parts to come in. It's going to be a mix of like plate and tile, some modified plate, and everything like that. And as far as the tents go, I think we're going to have 4. So we're going to have 2 of the larger ones, and I'm going to try to make a smaller version to put like here and then here. But that's going to be it. I mean, this takes up a large portion of that lake too, so it fits pretty well. It fits right on the edges of all the rocks too, which I think looks really, really cool. So I'm super excited. This is coming together really well. It was a real pain to have to come up with this, but I just think this looks the most accurate, and I know there's probably other techniques I could use to maybe make it a little bit more structurally sound, but I think, in my opinion, this looks the best. I think it looks subjectively the best. Obviously, it's my own opinion, but I think it looks great. I really do. I really like the using the technique for the hoses to sort of create that like log piece, that beam that goes from the bottom to the top. So I think that's going to work out down as we continue on with the build series. But this was a lot of work. Like I said, this was pretty much 2 or 3 days of just trying to figure out what different techniques there were. Remember from that previous part of the video, there was 2 or 3 designs that I kept trying to do that just did not work, and then it kind of dawned on me we had this option. I think it looks the best. Obviously, it's discolored. I'm waiting on the right parts to come in for either of these, but once those parts do come in, I'll be able to sort of get a more accurate depiction of what that's looking like, obviously, because the white, the green, the gray, it's not going to be there, and then these hoses are actually going to be brown as well, so it should come together really, really well. We're going to have some more small accessories as well to just sort of populate the general area. We'll hopefully be able to live stream this coming week now that I have an idea of what I'm doing, so I don't have to worry about coming up with ideas on the spot. But I'm really happy. I think this is going to turn out really well. And like, guys, this is a huge mock. This is just such a small portion of what we're actually working on, which is kind of insane. But that is the progress of this week. Hope you all enjoyed. Really happy and excited to be moving on to something different other than the lake for this week, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Of course, drop a like, and let's head to the outro of today's video. So guys, that just about wraps up week 5 of building Endor. I am hoping you guys are as receptive to what I got done this week. I think that design, you know, it was hard, not gonna lie. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in LEGO, to be honest, trying to find a design that works. And I think once I finally have all the pieces I need to complete it, all the right colors, I think hopefully by next week, I should be able to have a final product in the tent for you to show, and we hopefully should have a lake done as well. So there's a lot of cool progress that we are going to be getting on into in the next week or two, so cannot wait to go move forward. But nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm super happy with it, so let me know what you guys think. Like I said, next week should be focusing on completing the entirety of the lake, meaning the lake, hopefully the shore, and as well as the village itself. So we are nearing up on hopefully the finishing of the first, you know, large aspect of the creation. Once we're done with the lake sections, we'll probably be moving on to the landing platforms, the Inferno Squad campaign, big platform, and then hopefully the AT-AT coming very soon as well. So lots of cool and exciting things. Got some pretty banger videos coming up this week. I got some minifigs for you stuff we're going to be reviewing here on the channel this upcoming week. We might even be getting some more live streams other than Endor, but I'm really excited to be finally moving past the very bland lake. I mean, we got parts in for it. I got the tile, which is great. I'm still waiting on more black plates to cover the actual ground of it, so hence why it wasn't done this week. I'm I don't know why it's been taking so long. Orders just have not been flowing in as consistently and as fast as they used to. I'm sure that's for good reason though, with the pandemic and with the election and all that kind of stuff. So that's exciting. But nonetheless, I am super pumped to be moving forward, right? Moving past the lake and hopefully past the Ewok Village itself in the next hopefully few weeks. So again, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you guys did, of course, drop a like. If you guys haven't already and you don't want to miss any of these videos, subscribe down below, and I'll see you later. Take it easy. Peace.